One of the most stunning things from last night was on CNN, on NBC, just Republican after Republican came on and just like had this look like they just saw their dad get his ass kicked. They don't know what to do, and they were openly trying to plan how to prevent the guy getting all the primary delegates, all the votes, from actually getting the nomination. I mean, at one point, Tom DeLay, the former GOP leader, came on and was basically plotting to stop Trump from getting just enough delegates to seal the nomination so the party can then somehow do some voodoo in the second or third ballot of the convention and somehow force Marco Rubio down everyone's throat. First of all, it's a little wishful thinking, especially with a winner-take-all primary starting up in a couple weeks. And it's hard to envision Trump losing a lot of states. And second of all, I mean, we've talked about how it would be crazy for the Democrats to use the superdelegate system to prevent like the popular candidate from getting the nomination. This is basically the exact same scenario. Josh, I mean, with that said, we know that the Republicans, I mean, what would hurt the Republicans more, nominating Trump or staging a coup against their own voters?
I don't know. And I have to admit, this is my favorite thing about this whole election because, we who write about politics we veer towards hyperbole and embellishment sometimes when we talk about what is, the most important thing or the biggest revelation or the war for the soul of the Republican Party. Well, that war actually started. It was a Cold War until Trump did the KKK thing. And that's when people were like, holy fuck.
Right out. They're like, we don't want nothing to do with this.
Yeah, it was amazing. It's amazing to see because along with on TV there's the hashtag Never Trump, and it was started by a number of like Republican columnists and former strategists. One of the big ones I remember is I think Rick Wilson. He's that bald gentleman, was on CNN a lot. I think he worked for Reagan because who didn't? Republicans of a certain age who didn't work for Reagan. But they were talking about, dark money and all types of crazy ideas to try to still get Cruz or Rubio elected with, delegates from the winner-take-all state. But the fact that they're actually talking about trying to broker the convention, and they very much are, is amazing. If it happens, if they try to have that brokered convention, it will be the 1968 Democratic Convention in Chicago, just on the Republican side, in Cleveland, and it'll be, if not the death of the Republican Party, it really will wound it in a way that I don't know if it could come back from on a national level.
Peter, what do you think that the Republican Party should worry more about? Is it Trump, or is it, fiddling around with what the voters want and preventing the frontrunner from getting the nomination?
They can worry about what they want, but the reality is there's a reason why Cruz and Rubio are not leading right now. I don't necessarily know what that reason is, but there is a reason. And so brokering a convention and pushing Trump aside in favor of a candidate who wasn't able to build popular support is pretty much a way of saying, congratulations, Madam President, because it's destroy, as Josh put it, destroy the Republican Party, certainly end the election that afternoon. Hillary just has to hide in a dark room until November and not get caught saying anything. The idea being that, the Republicans had their opportunities with Trump maybe a while ago, and they never took him seriously. And now all of a sudden they're taking him seriously. They don't like what they're seeing. And it's like, yeah, well, guys, sorry that, the horse left the barn. All that said, I quietly, maybe this is just hope, quietly wonder how much of Trump is bullshit and how much is not. Once he's in the White House, assuming that's what happens, Jesus. Once he's in the White House and he's got to make appointments, and the Republican Party is involved in figuring out who all the undersecretaries of state are going to be, and the minor appointments that the president goes nowhere near, they're going to own an awful lot of a Trump administration. The bureaucracy, if you will, has an enormous capacity for slow walking things, for getting things not done that can hold it up. Keep in mind that the Republicans will either hold Congress, in which case they can put up a firewall there against the stupidest of Trump stuff, or the Democrats will. And they're certainly not going to empower Trump in any way. So I suspect it will not be the Republican reality nightmare that they may worry about. But politically, I wholeheartedly agree with my colleague Josh that it is the Republicans have taken their stupid strategy to the pinnacle of it, and the pinnacle is named Donald Trump.
Well, the worry is that if Trump is nominated, then they won't hold Congress. I mean, that's really the biggest concern. But the logic or the excuse they would use, according to what they were saying last night, is that, well, if he doesn't reach the minimum necessary amount of delegates, that's a sign of weakness, and so we'll replace him with someone who got even less delegates. What were you going to say, Eric?
Well, I was going to chime in on this since I always seem to be the third wheel here. But when I look at the candidates, I see Ted Cruz, and he's actually...
Sorry, Dr. Carson.
It's okay. Bring some civility back to politics, please. Okay.
We should have a meeting, you're right.
When I look at Ted Cruz, he's a candidate that, if you were to go back to the start of this election cycle, is hated by his party. He's seen as somebody that's on the outside, a little too out there, and just somebody that the establishment Republicans would never touch. Trump enters the scene, of course. Ted Cruz looks a little more normal, which is weird, but I still see him as this batshit crazy person. Then you have Marco Rubio, who is just not a good candidate overall because he can't compete with the craziness that is Trump and Cruz. And now that he's trying, like in the recent weeks, has been going on the offensive, trying to like personally insult Trump and stuff. And it's just pathetic to watch, like the small hands thing, or what was the penis joke he made the other day. It's just sad.
That was it.
Yeah, but I love it actually because of the backstory on that, where Trump allegedly like circles pictures of his hands and sends it to that one editor. That's hilarious, and that's something I could see Trump doing. But watching Rubio try to like be the big boy and make these insults is just kind of sad. It's like the grade 9 trying to bully a grade 12 in high school. It just doesn't work very well. So that's how I see it. I see Trump as like, he's not more manly than the other candidates, but he knows how to play that angle. Cruz isn't good enough at getting involved in it, and Rubio is just too inexperienced to be able to stand tall in that kind of environment.
That's a really good point. The question is also, who would the party even try to get behind? Rubio has pretty much proven to be a dud, and now Lindsey Graham, for example, today said that maybe we'll have to rally around Ted Cruz, which is ironic because Lindsey Graham is also the guy who said that if you shot Ted Cruz dead on the Senate floor, no one would care and you'd get away with it. So this is the same guy that's now saying, well, this is a better alternative to Trump. Josh, is this a better alternative to Trump?
That's the thing. It's amazing to me that when we started out with 17 of these fuckers. And I'd say that with all due respect, because stepping up to serve your country is an honorable thing. But we start out with 17 of these fuckers. And we whittled down to the two worst options. This would have been like in 2012, getting Herman Cain and Michelle Bachmann as our two candidates.
That's a really interesting point, because in 2008, Newsmax wanted to host a debate, and they ended up having to cancel it because half the candidates dropped out because one of the moderators was going to be Donald Trump.
Yeah. But see, I don't know. I don't know which, because it seems like we're getting at which one is the worst one for the Republicans. I think Cruz. I think Cruz is the worst one. I mean, and I really struggled with this weekend, especially because of the racist shit. I mean, that's really bad. But like Peter said, there's a part of us that either hopes or thinks that Trump is just lying. Like, he's just putting on a show, and that if he did somehow find himself in the Oval Office, he would, comport himself in a way that is at least George W. Bushian.
I have a question.
Wow, I feel so much better now.
That's reassuring.